Well, good evening, everybody. How are you? How are you? It's been a minute. It's once a month with limited resources with my special guest, Angela B. Brown, CEO of Yeshua's House in Petersburg. Welcome, Angela.
Thank you. Thank you. I love being here with you.
All right, everybody. In case it's your first time joining us, either audio or video, I am Ms.B, Positively Ms.B, the CEO of Storm Talk 365 Radio, faith-based podcast network, where we help you to talk to the storms in your life. I'm also the CEO of Storm Radio 24/7, where we talk about business, arts, education, and much, much more. But today, Limited Resources on Storm Talk 365 is going to talk about limited resources. Well, Ms. B, what is limited resources? We have a lot of people out there who are experiencing homelessness, joblessness, lack of income, sickness, illness, but they have limited resources or none at all. So we want to focus on educating and promoting awareness in this particular area. Angela B. Brown is the CEO of Yeshua's House. Angela, tell them a little bit about Yeshua's House.
Yeshua's House is a home for abused women and children, or women who are in financial transition, because we provide a program and hope that allows them to get on their feet emotionally and financially and become financially independent, be able to live on their own so that they are not prey to anyone or anything that can subvert their success. And they are able to stay for up to 18 months. And as long as they're a part of our program, as long as they attend the classes that will help them get on their feet, then they can stay through that entire 18 months. And so far, we've had 51 women and 34 children go through our two homes since 2013.
Two homes. That is beautiful. Absolutely. And there's something else that I want to share with the listeners. Just briefly tell them about your book. I'm really interested in
the book. Let me reach back behind me and get it.
Okay? All right.
Okay. My mother. Oops, let me see. See my mother? We look alike.
Yeah.
My mother left a recording, thanks to my sister, of her life story. And because she was orphaned at the age of 5 and grew up in poverty with an abusive father, she's my role model. And I learned a lot from her. Anyway, we put this book together along with the memoirs of her 4 children about the rest of her life. But we call her the true founder of Yeshua's House, because it's her character and the fact that she not only left a consciousness of other people's needs and that they could be fulfilled, but that she left a legacy of money, so that is what was the down payment for Yeshua's House when she passed in 2006.
Beautiful. Now tell them how this book can help support the legacy that she left.
Well, the board funded the printing of it, and all the proceeds go into the organization. To date, we have received everything that we put into it back, and we're now on the profit side.
Absolutely.
So if you purchase this book for $12 from our website, let us know on our website. If you purchase it for $12, all $12 go toward Yeshua's House to support our mission to women and children.
Beautiful, beautiful. We're having, a lot of issues in not only the community, but globally. Have you seen an increase in the need for the services that you offer?
We've had quite a few applicants and quite a few people referring applicants. Thankfully, we do have a lady moving out. We do have a vacancy for a single woman and a family, and we have people who have applied for those. Whether or not they come in yet, I don't know. But we are open to applicants right now.
And the location is in Petersburg, and they just reach you by going to what, your website? How can they get in contact?
Yeah, the website has the email, and they can email me directly and apply online and so forth.
Are there any
and then we'll go through the
needs
process.
you have right now? Do you have any special needs that you have for the homes? Are you out of supplies? Is there anything you need?
What we need right now are paper products, which would be, napkins, what do you call it? Baggies, also anything in the term in tissues, paper products. Any paper products would help. People have not been coming to give items because of the COVID, so we've had to supply that ourselves for the ladies.
But
that would be a big help.
Cash App, right? You have Cash App and PayPal, right?
Yes. Yeah, and actually, of course, cash is always the cow, right? It's always the one that you can milk for anything you need. So that's a wonderful gift.
All right, so they can find you on Cash App at Yeshua's house. What's the
Yeshua'sHouse.net has a PayPal website, has a PayPal site or button, and you can do us. Our Cash App is $Yeshua's house.
All right, everybody.
That'll get to us.
All of the good stuff right at the beginning. So now that I've got the shameless plug out of the way, I'm just so in love with Yeshua's house and all that Mr. and Ms. Brown do. What are we going to talk about today?
Well, last month I told you that we were going to talk about potential. We've been talking about Maslow's theory of motivation, and I'll review that a little bit. And then we're going to go into potential, because I thoroughly believe that God didn't put anybody on this earth without the potential to succeed exponentially.
Exponentially. All right.
Yes, we have more than enough inside of us, regardless of circumstances or birth on the outside of us. We have more than enough to succeed and put people in awe of what we have achieved.
All right. Well, let's briefly talk about Maslow and then move forward to today's topic.
Right. Okay. So Maslow was a theorist. He did a what do you call it? A series of blocks that he said, okay, these are the a hierarchy of needs. And of course, they begin with the physical. So there's basic needs. When we have the basic needs met, there's a greater yearning for the psychological needs. But we have all these needs at one time, because we're complex, right? We're born with needs for our physical and our psychological and our mental and spiritual growth.
Mm-hmm.
We need growth in all those areas, even at birth. But let's skip to so you have the basic, the psychological, and then self-fulfillment, where you're being able to live above concerns for yourself, and you're thinking about other people. If you go beyond that, talk about transcendence, where we transcend the basic needs that everybody else is thinking about, because the purpose in our life, the meaning of our life, the spontaneity that we can have in fulfilling ourselves and meeting people's needs is there. And so that word transcendence, my husband and I study Hebrew, which I believe is the first language of all, and nothing will ever compare to it. It's got meaning on at least 4 different levels. Mm-hmm. But so I looked up the word transcend in Hebrew, a verb, and to pronounce it, it would be la'alat al, la'alat al. And that kind of puts you on a different plane anyway. La'alat al. It sounds like a lot, doesn't it?
It is a lot.
It is a lot. And it's a lot because the letters that are involved, there are 3 what we would call L's or lamens in Hebrew, and it means to learn and to teach. So when you transcend the usual you're able to learn and to teach. And then there are two ions, which are like our A's, but they mean insight and compassion. So you put learning and teaching with insight and compassion, and you're transcending the ordinary plane. And then there's one T. Remember, it's la, al. There's one T, which is the word for sign or covenant. You come into a covenant saying, this is what I will do and want to do, and you have a partner in a covenant. Okay? You know, that's a scriptural term. That's God's term for a contract. Covenant. And then the vav is a nail. And there's one of those, to secure, to attach. So if you put them together, to transcend is to know that you know something that you can impart to others, and your insight and your compassion compels you to impart it to others, whether it's wisdom or money or opportunity, right? And you feel as if what you have is assigned to others, that they can be who they are and do whatever is in them to do. So that would be the top level of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Okay, we all need to get there. One of my favorite men, and he was also a great minister in the Bahamas, is Miles Monroe.
Yes, I miss him, but I watch. Yes, keep talking.
Wonderful.
Yes,
wonderful. And you know, he's like the potential guru.
Yes.
And he says the greatest tragedy is a life lived without purpose. And we need to impart that to people that we know, to our children, to next generations. Okay. So potential, sorry, my phone just went off, but potential is a force. Potential is a force. And if you compare it to a seed, because a seed has potential in it to be a bush or a tree or a flower, and it has all those flowers within it because it multiplies. It can break through concrete, right? Mm-hmm. We see the cracks in the sidewalk. Nothing but the potential of a seed breaking through concrete.
Absolutely.
And, you know, glass ceilings are nothing but the concrete, like a seed would break through. Okay. So our potential, we have the potential to break through glass ceilings, to do things that nobody has ever done before, or that people don't think we belong at that level. Mm-hmm. So the parable of the talents can be seen as the parable of potential. So let me remind you, now that's in Matthew 25:14 through 30, if somebody wants to read it while we go along. But, it said a man went away on a journey, and he gave his 3 servants money, gave them talents, and that was weighted money. And 1 talent is equal to 80 pounds of silver. So the man who got 5 talents had 400 pounds of silver. The man who had 2 talents had 160 pounds of silver. And the man who had 1 talent had 80 pounds of silver. And a talent, that 80 pounds, was equal to 6,000 denarii. And you would get 1 denarius for a day's wage. So I calculated that, and you could live for 6,000 days on 1 talent. 6,000 days of wages equal 16.4 years. So the man who got 1 talent had the equivalent of 16 years of income.
Okay.
And the average yearly wage at that time, Jesus' day, was $22,880 in today's economy. So I multiplied that by 16. And so a talent would equal $366,000 and 80 $366,080.
Okay.
So the man who got one talent was by no means poor. Okay. He was sitting on a wealth of money. Remember, the man who had 5 talents went out about his business, and he increased that 400 pounds to 800 pounds of silver by the time the master came back. The man who got 2 increased by 160 pounds to 340 pounds of silver. And the response from the master was, well, good and faithful, you did well. And then the man with the 1 talent came up and he said, well, I buried my talent. And I'm going to read you what he said. He said, I knew that you are a hard man, reaping where you didn't sow and gathering where you scattered no seed. So I was afraid, and I went off and hid your talent in the ground. See, you have what is yours. Here's your talent back. And, we're all kind of gasping. What? You did nothing? And, the what do you call it? The employer, a manager, a man who went off on a journey said, well, you're a wicked and lazy servant. If you knew I was so hard, and I'm sure he was being sarcastic, if you knew I was so hard, you could have at least invested it to give me some sort of return. But you get, because these numbers are so huge, I think of this as the parable of potential, because God put within each of these people more than enough to have an overwhelmingly prosperous life. And hidden money has no value. Money is for people to prosper, right?
Hidden potential has no value either.
Pardon me?
Hidden potential. Don't hide your potential.
Right. That's why the talent is equal to potential. So money is to be used, and our abilities are to be used. Our potential is to be brought out and used. And some people seem to think that that's hard work, and they just bury it, right? Mm-hmm. And other people say, wow, I feel something in me. I feel like I can do something. And they get about the business of doing something. Our potential is incalculable. I think that's what God is telling us in this parable. Your potential is incalculable. Don't sit on it. If you sit on it, I'm going to call you what you are. You're lazy. And you're wicked. And you calling me all sorts of names. And I'm the one who gave you all that potential. So, when I was growing up, the NAACP had a slogan of the mind is a terrible thing to waste. Or was that was a Negro College Fund, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was a Negro College Fund. Yeah, that was their call to invest in education. But that always had an impact on me. I think it's a terrible thing to waste. So I wanted to talk to you about the first female self-made millionaire in the world. And let's think about how many talents she must have been given to have been the first female self-made millionaire in the world, and to have achieved millionaire status by 1917. Her name is Madam C.J. Walker. I was reading about her this week, and I thought, man, I haven't done anything. Look at this woman. So she's born in 1867 in Louisiana. She's the last of 6 children, the only one born after Emancipation Proclamation, though the whole family had been enslaved. By the time she was 6, her mother died. By the time she was 7, her father had died. So her oldest sister took her in, and she became a domestic worker in Vicksburg, Mississippi, where her sister lived. And she had only 3 months of formal education during Sunday school literacy classes. She married at 14 in order to escape her abusive brother-in-law, her sister's husband. She had a daughter at 18. Her husband died at 20. So she's alone. She moved to St. Louis, where her 3 brothers were. At least 2 of them were barbers. It might have been all 3 of them that were barbers. That's how she learned about hair. Okay? And what was happening at that time is people were using products. Their hair was falling out. They had dandruff. They weren't washing their hair a lot because they knew that the products were harsh on their hair. And so they really didn't know how to take care of their hair. And of course, we know the background is their hair would have had everything it needed had they stayed where their native land was. Mm-hmm. In Africa, people knew how to take care of their hair. Mm-hmm. But you bring them here, and there are no products like there are in Africa, and everything's from scratch, and you're enslaved anyway. So much was lost. So anyway, she saw this as a big concern, and she did something about it. But I did not know, and I used to be a Mary Kay salesperson, but I didn't know that she had licensed sales agents trained in the Walker system and had a nationwide network. They wore uniforms, black skirt, white blouse. They were called beauty culturalists, and she taught women how to budget, how to build their business, how to become financially independent. She had women on every level of her workforce. And in 1917, she had the first annual conference of Walker Culturalists in Philadelphia. And that 200 people attended. She gave prizes for achievement. Now, doesn't that sound like every kind of convention you know of today?
M's all the way.
Right. Right. Uh-huh. So, and when she died, which was just a year later, I think that was 1919, when she died, she had already given to so many organizations. I mean, she's a millionaire. She's constantly sending the money out, and her people got good wages. Good wages. Those salespeople weren't lacking. So in her will, she said that 2/3 of her future net profits would go to charity. All through the life of the business, 2/3 would go to charity.
Okay.
That's the giving heart of this woman. Amazing woman. I had read about her. I had never read and seen her like I did yesterday when I was reading about her. So, how many talents was she given? Look at the circumstances of her birth, the age she lived in, and she didn't see a glass ceiling. It was just potential breaking through. Pardon me?
I am following you. I'm understanding how this ties in with limited resources and the homeless and the shelter for women and abuse. I understand. Don't look at a glass ceiling.
No. And circumstances of birth and economy, none of that need to hold you back. You look inside, find out what your purpose is, what your passion is, and you pursue that, and you will be successful.
Yes, ma'am.
And fulfilled. And people around you will be blessed.
May I ask you, and again, this is just a question. I have an answer for myself, but we were not made to be alone, but being alone is not a bad thing. As a woman of faith, dealing with domestic violence and inside your family and now providing shelters for others, do you feel that we as humans seek love from others more than we love ourselves? and miss out on our true potential because we're depending on others to be the end all to our life instead of being the best we can be for ourselves.
Exactly. And the book that we're studying now in our support group is Miles Monroe's Single, Married, Separated, and Life After Divorce. And the very first chapter, which is where we are, is being single is not being, you don't have to be lonely when you're single.
Big difference.
Right. And to be single is to be unique. You have a single rose and it's beautiful, right? A single, unique, independent, self-sufficient.
Absolutely.
And he said nobody should marry until they are first single, successfully single.
Yes.
Where they are who they are and they know who they are.
Absolutely.
And then when two single, unique, healthy individuals come together, they don't try to infiltrate the other's identity or latch onto it in order to be somebody.
Absolutely. I love this point.
So,
nailed it.
My browser's lost connection.
That's how I can still hear you.
Okay, well, I can't see me, but that's okay.
Yeah,
okay.
That's all right. I can still hear you.
Right. Okay. So did that answer your question?
Yes, because I some of the things that I say you've already covered it, but you have to love yourself more than you love the love from other people. And Madam C.J. Walker, and not just her, but a lot of successful people realized that they had a potential and they did not allow their personal relationships to interfere with their purpose. We have a purpose, and it's not just being a wife, a mother, something to somebody else. Be who you can be to yourself. What do you think about that, Angela?
Yeah, the verse, love your neighbor as yourself, implies mathematically that you can only love your neighbor as much as you love yourself.
And that's something.
You can't love, it doesn't say love your neighbor more than you love yourself. Love your neighbor as you love yourself.
I'm sorry to cut across you, but that's ironic that you said that because I'm segueing and I know it. But when you said that, with a lot of the things that we're seeing, a lot of people evidently don't love themselves because they're not loving their neighbor pretty much. What do you think?
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And, so it comes down to self-hatred. And that's the most tragic person is one who has that self-hatred in him, and he will always self-destruct.
And it's unfortunate when a lot of us, people, individuals, humans, get involved in relationships. We don't see how they treat themselves first. We look at, oh, they're so nice to me. But in reality, how are they treating themselves? Where's that self-love? And then you get involved with someone who really doesn't love themselves and they were perpetrating to be a lover of you. Then you're in a relationship with emptiness, and it's really sad.
Right. Sometimes we love being with a person that makes us feel better about ourselves. So, a man might want the eye candy on his arm, right? Or a woman, the Herculean-like looking guy, or the guy who looks all cool. But that doesn't help a relationship. Appearance is not where a relationship is centered, and you have to have a spirit. Well, I don't want to say spiritual connection because not everybody might understand that. But if there's not a soul connection, okay, if you can't talk about everything and anything and respect each other, then that's not a relationship that can continue. It's going to, it'll be a house divided against itself once you try to unite.
The topic is potential, and you've covered a lot of information. Um, and I don't want to say that people who are not successful are, all of them are lazy and lack, initiative. But a lot of people don't realize that they have a choice, and the choice is to be self-sufficient, just like you said, independent, tap into your gifts. We all have gifts. And when you talk about talents being monetary, but we all have gifts. And for those of us who have come from not so perfect relationships, sometimes we don't recover, and we still depend on other people to provide for us. Well, reality, we can be like the ladies with the oil, go out and, party. And when it's time to, stand up and be accountable, you don't have any oil in your lamp. A lot of people don't realize they have to be accountable for putting oils in their own lamp. What do you think about that, Angela?
Yes, absolutely. We began this with Maslow's hierarchy of needs because many of our women come to us from having lived in cars or in what do you call it? Emergency centers, living with a family member that is abusive, or just a mate that is abusive. But however they come to us, they need the housing, they need the atmosphere, they need and that's why we put such an emphasis on our homes being comfortable and inviting and clean, because you're pulling energy and your self-worth from your surroundings. Mm-hmm. So, we build on that, but there has to be relationship with people who see your value in order for you to move beyond meeting basic needs to seeing that you have potential. You have value, and you can invest that value that you have in yourself in many different ways. You choose. You locate your passion, or maybe that's not the first word that comes to our mind when we're looking for sustenance. But whatever it is, I think I mentioned to you that we have a lady who loves animals and wants to work with pets. Mm-hmm. And COVID-19 has not been a good time for her. Mm-hmm. But that's what she wants to do, and she will do it, because we didn't say, oh, yeah, nothing in that, No, that she could be the finest pet care or pet, what do you call it? Creator of hairdos and whatever you want your pet to look like.
Pet groomer.
Grooming. Yeah, she could be the finest pet groomer, because she loves the animals and she loves the people who have the animals. So, it's never our job to critique what a person's desire is or their dream is, but to see where that's coming from and say, I can see you doing that. I can see you have the qualities that would make you highly successful at that.
Absolutely. And that's the thing that, I think we both want the listeners and the viewers to get, that until you see your own potential, people can tell you all they want. Oh, you can do this and you can do that. But we want to encourage you to see your own potential, to see that you have your own gift, and to use the talents that you've been given, whether it's monetary or just something that you can do, your own indwelling skills, your own personal interests. And, I want to stress that along with you, Angela, that regardless of which situation or circumstance, life event, my mama, daddy, sister, brother, whatever's You have choices, and you can rise above every situation that you've come from and that you're in. You just have to make that choice. Is it easy? No. Is it possible? Yes. Is it necessary? Absolutely. So I am excited that you decided to tell us about Maslow's hierarchy, and today we talked about potential. Before we come to a close, is there anything else you want to share about potential?
Well, you know, people that all of us reach are youth. There's youth in all of our lives, right? If children or grandchildren, cousins, nieces, um, we have got to be positive, like Miss Positivity here. We have got to be positive about it and see the value of what is in them. You know, if I remember I had a physician, gynecologist, black gynecologist in Petersburg. You may have known Samuel Bush.
Oh,
Anyway,
my buddy.
Samuel Bush, I invited him to come to speak to children at Petersburg High School when I was teaching there for a career day. And he was saying, I'm glad you did that, because if I had not known a doctor when I was young, I would never have thought I could be a doctor. And
Absolutely.
he said, we've got to put people in front of our children who have all sorts of occupations so that they can see that that's doable.
Mm-hmm.
And if when something rises up in them and says, that's what I want to do, nobody put that there. That was there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the potential that they're sitting on, that that can impact their lives and the lives of everyone else. We were put here not just to survive, but to thrive. The Garden of Eden was for us to thrive, and that was God's original plan. And we can still live in an Eden of our own making if we tap the potential that God has given us.
And I want to add to that, it's never too late. I'm glad you brought up
Never.
Dr. Bush going into talking to the youth. But, we need to also address those who are already adults who have that, oh, I want to do that. But then they have that, but I'm too old. I can't do
Oh
it.
my
It won't
gosh.
happen. It's too late. Nobody's going to, help me. So I want to tap into what Angela just said about the youth. It was already there. You have a lot of things that's already within you, and you're not tapping into it because of all the excuses that your emotions are telling you it can't happen. So I want to tell you that I'm 64 years old, and I never thought I'd be the CEO of anything. I just wanted to pet my dogs and be done with it. But now I have a global podcast ministry, and I'm self-taught. So there's nothing you can't do unless you're limited by your own limitations. So that being said, everybody, Angela B. Brown is the CEO of Yeshua's House, located in Petersburg. What's your website again, Angela?
YeshuasHouse.net. That's YesHuas house.net.
And you can find her on Cash App if you want to donate. They can use some paper products, but if you do the Cash App, she can spend the funds where they're most needed. But again, you can find Angela B. Brown right here. Yeah, we made a schedule change, but usually it's it's once a month, sometime, we're going to put it that way. Once a month on a Tuesday, you can find her as a video, and then we put it as a podcast on www.stormtalk365radio.com. But again, Angela, thank you so much. Do you know what you want to talk about next month, or we just have to wait and see?
Whew, I guess, I don't know. It'll be an extension of this, but I just want to tell you that I'm having more and more fun enjoying talking with you.
Oh,
And I thank you for being a great interviewer that segues, because that's what we want to do, is segue, right?
yep, we're going to segue. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Angela will be back with you next month, and all of her podcasts are available for downloads and 24-hour listening. If you don't want to see the video, you can go to www.stormtalk365radio.com, or on your favorite listening platform. We have iHeart, iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, and many more. So again, follow us on Facebook, Yeshua's House. That's right. Facebook, Yeshua's House, everybody. All right. We'll talk to you next month. Have a blessed day, Angela.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. You too, Ms. B.
Bye bye.
Bye.